Hi, welcome to my channel, Christina Talks Radio. Normally I do teaching with human design and gene keys, and today I'm doing something a little different. Today we're going to talk about human design, Jesus, and God, and my personal process and my journey through human design and what has come to me as wisdom. So hi, from those of you new to my channel, welcome. Thank you. To those of you who are reoccurring, doing something a little different today. I'm excited to see how you relate to this. If you're new, please hit the like and subscribe button. If you like it at the end, check it out. It helps me and it will help you with the energy of manifestation. I myself, in the terms of human design, am a 4/6 splenic authority ego manifester. This means that I have splenic knowing with ego motor. I'm a single definition, which means all of my connections in my human design body graph are connected. And I am a Christian. When I first discovered human design, it was something I found from a friend's Facebook page. She had mentioned something that really resonated with me, and I had gone through my spiritual awakening. I was in the middle of what they call the Kundalini awakening. I don't like that terminology, but that is what it was. You may be going through one yourself now. You may have had a loved one who has experienced the Kundalini awakening, and you may have just the background of God and Jesus, and this may be something that is difficult for you to hear or to get on board with, something where spirituality and Jesus can coincide with something such as human design. Now, to find your human design chart information, it does require your birth time and place, the location, the exact time, and that is something that seems very fishy, understandably, and alongside with what is astrology to those that are Christian and Jesus followers. When I first stumbled upon astrology and started looking into it, I started questioning why, if God is love and truth is love, that something that seems to be truth could also be not of God, not of love. So this was a dilemma that I had started asking many years ago. I came across this question, and really, as I opened up to this friend and found out that she was a manifestor herself and started exploring my own design, like booking a reading for my foundational reading, which, if you don't know, if you're new to human design, you can book a human design session with me at my website, holistichd.com. And I can also point you in the direction of analysts who are certified for a foundational reading. When I spoke with this person, I was curious what design type I was. Maybe you've heard something about the 4 design types: manifestors, generators, manifesting generators, those are both generator types, reflectors, and projectors. Now, I felt very powerfully that I was a manifester. This was because I resonated with what the other person was sharing, and it totally made sense to me. There was something I didn't know at the time, was that keynotes is a separate language in human design. So those 4 with manifesting generator design types I mentioned, each one of the words, manifestor, for example, does not mean manifest in the traditional sense of the word in the English dictionary language. Generator does not mean generator. Projector does not mean projector in the English language, nor does reflector. These words actually have their own unique definition and meaning. To this day, I don't know of a book that takes the words and puts the definitions to them, but if you hear this and you want to write one, please do. I don't think I have the energy for it. So when you get your foundation chart, when you put your information into a chart generator, which you can find one, my preferred one from Jovian Archive, on my resource page of holistichd.com, you get a chart that has different shapes, different connections, and some numbers on each side. This is a human design chart. This shows you the imprint of the structure of your DNA, of your body, of the energy flow in your body. It shows where you are receptive and where you are set in a certain way, where you have nature and nurture. So where your nature is the set aspects, and your nurture comes in through your open, undefined aspects. There initially, most people think of the 7 chakra system. So having the 7 chakras. Now, I was never schooled in the 7 chakras. I stumbled upon astrology, which to me to this day does not ring as absolute truth. And it does not really feed the purpose that I seek, which I'm a truth seeker. I am somebody who wants the accurate information of what is, even if it's not how I see the world or what I see in the world. And this is a big part of why Jesus is part of my life, not just because Jesus provides the truth. He provides insight. Prayer provides guidance, and it opens doors for me in ways I could never imagine. But this is also why what Human Design teaches of strategy and authority was very intriguing to me, very powerful. And what brought me full blown into this experiment that is known as the Human Design Experiment. So Christianity, as you may or may not know, is the following of Jesus Christ and living with him as your brother, as your savior. And to be a Christian for me means that Jesus died for my sins. He rose again. And inside of that the resurrected truth of Jesus is that I have forgiveness. And this can rub people really, really wrong. The idea that are not Christian, or that if you've been harmed by Christians, I've been harmed by Christians. It's actually why I walked away from God, was people, not God, although I thought it was God at the time. You may be like, it may be detached from that. It may trigger you. It may create upset. Well, God says this, and so why should I follow that? God says man shall not lie with another man in this one verse in Romans, and I'm gay, and everybody tells me that that's wrong and a sin. That's a big controversial topic right there, that I'm just going to say right here, right now. To those of you that are interested in human design alongside Christianity, there's 2 or 3 commonalities between how people look at the writings in the Bible and how people look at human design teachings. They're not at all the same. Ra was not a prophet. He would say he was not a prophet. He was not a savior. And he did not believe that Jesus was the Son of God and man. He was not a Christian. He would speak that he didn't. There's many times Ra speaks to this. But Jesus also, you have his disciples' words, you have the Old Testament as well in the Bible, which is, there's laws, there's stories. And so you have these 2 different teachings, the Bible and human design. And in the similarities I'm speaking to is, if you take a verse such as a man shall not lie with another man, and you take, I didn't have one ready for you. I'm trying to think of something exactly from Ra. If you take that, there's no way you can, there's no point to entering into the human design experiment if you do not sleep alone, if you cannot sleep alone, if you're not willing to sleep alone. That's energetically away from other people and pets. So those are 2 very different things, but they're both can be taken into dogma and put into the dogma of taking a verse in the Bible and taking it without its context. And there's a lot of context to a man shall not lie with another man, and a lot of cultural happenings. Well, that's the second issue. Let me stick to the first one. You could take one section of Romans, which is one book, which is one part of the Bible, and you take that and individuals may tell you are wrong for acting on or even being attracted to somebody of the same sex. And that is a dilemma that can divide us between one another inside of Christianity. It is definitely an issue currently in the world today. Transgenderism, homosexuality, that these are hot button abortion. These are hot button topics that we are gonna disagree on. Many of us may see the same, but we also see differences. And Jesus's message for me was not only about bringing us peace and forgiveness, but loving one another and truly being accountable for ourselves. Like, take the log out of your own eye before you try and get the speck out of your brother's eye, if you know that verse. That's very much so something that applies to human design as well. If you want to come in and tell somebody something based on sleeping alone, and I'm somebody who actually practices sleeping alone without other people or pets and have for years. Even though I am somebody practicing that and living that and loving that, and that's right for me to come in and tell anyone that their process, their life, their journey, maybe you have kids, family, pets, you're in a situation and you're in a crowded city, in a city where there isn't really houses like there is in the US, and there's more like apartments or houses. And to judge and to then be critical of you as a person and say, well, and the word is not self in the human design community. You're not self. I'm starting to refer to it as the shadow self, because you're doing that, you're wrong. So these are two areas where you can take a quote from either Ra or from Ra Uruhu, or from Jesus Christ's words, or more specifically from the Bible itself, because Jesus did not write Romans. He is not the author of Romans. And you can take them and you can misconstrue them. So when I talk to Christianity and being Christian, I'm speaking to this connection to Jesus, where he can wash away my sins, where he can wash away my not self, where he can guide me into what is my strategy and authority. And transcending the body graph in human design absolutely can come from Jesus, and this beautiful relationship that goes into so much that I could talk about, and the metaphysical, the magical, and the spiritual in relation to God and heaven and earth, and the mechanics of human design alongside what the Bible speaks to. And I'm still learning. I am still learning myself, and will be for the rest of my life. And the second thing I want to speak to in relation to human design and Christianity similarity is cultural differences, time differences, when things were written. Ra Uru Hu in human design is a 5-1 splenic authority ego manifester. He is a cross of the clarion. That's his purpose. I believe it's a left angle cross of the clarion. And his message he received, I may try and link it below, his encounter with the voice. But if you are interested in hearing him on YouTube speak about what happened during the encounter with what he calls the voice, and how he received the human design system, the science of differentiation, you can search Ra Uru Hu, the encounter with the voice, or just the encounter. And there is a video that he actually speaks to his encounter. Now, Ra was a man who, from what I have learned, which is very little about his life, I haven't done in-depth studies, but I have studied human design and heard quite a bit through my studies, learned quite a bit through his teachings and sharings. He has been through several marriages and several divorces. He is somebody who used drugs to, I wouldn't say use them too, I would say he used drugs, and it was very much something that was a part of his life. He was a disappeared person. He one day just left his family and his home, and he ended up in Ibiza, Spain, where human design knowledge came through him and was given to him. And this was, he speaks to being he's very pessimistic. He's somebody who'd never believed in astrology, didn't want, the information that was given to him, he speaks to, it was very something he would have never really wanted in life. He had left his family behind and basically just lived, I would say, a vagabond life, but I don't think he would have used, that would be too soft a word for Ra to use. He was very much so just a wanderer at that point, just left what he knew. And Ra is his words, his teachings are much more abrasive. And so he was born in the 1940s, and which puts him generationally in a very different category from me, for example, somebody born in the 80s or somebody born in the 50s. So he has this life experience with his family, he has children, with his life, that you have to understand that when he is teaching human design, he is teaching from his experience and his life and his perception on the world. As a non-believer, he is teaching as a non-believer. He is teaching on somebody that once he had the encounter, started experimenting, as in like a theory, going into seeing what he thought and what was and what he was given information wise to validate it for himself, because he didn't know if it was hokey or not. And so when he starts teaching, you can actually see a transformation from how he taught in the late 1980s, or I think his first video on YouTube is from 1994, which is uploaded obviously after the video. And you can see a difference from the way he speaks then to the way he speaks if you happen to have a recording of him for rave cosmology or rave psychology or primary health system studies, or if you know him, if you got to get to know him, if you spoke with him, if you went to the events in Ibiza. There was a transformation that happened in his life, and the way he communicates is from who he is and his knowledge, as well as what he learned, and his way of communicating is very different than anyone else's. So when you look at that and the way human design was delivered to the world, human design was given to the world by Ra Uru Hu, and now there are many people certified in human design, many people teaching and educating human design. I myself would consider myself a human design expert. I know things that many people do not know. I have studied cosmology and am here for great things as a right angle cross of rulership, not here to just rule, but to teach, to educate, and to empower you, and to open a door as a manifester for you on your experiment and your path, not only to Jesus, but to your truth and your purpose and what God created you for. But so Jesus and the Bible itself, the Bible is so much older than human design. So you've got that. But I want to take a minute to look at how, for example, there's a verse that talks about if you have been sexually molested or raped, if somebody has penetrated you in the Old Testament, that you then marry the person who does that as a woman. And you can get up in arms with, wait a minute, somebody raped her and she has to be with them. Really what it was saying is that if somebody has removed your virginity, which back in those times, if you would not marry if you were not a virgin. Women were somewhat like property. Very different than today. It wasn't wrong back then. We may look back and see this very different, but this was actually making it so that person was financially responsible for her well-being. And if you relate to this through narcissism or the modern world, it's very, very hard to grasp how back then she would be dead and destitute. She wouldn't be welcome in her family's home. She wouldn't be welcome. She would not have a way to continue to survive because she would not have food provided for her. Her family, this dynamic would make it so she could not marry. And so it was almost a law that was put in place so that the woman would have the ability to survive. And back then it was very different than it is now. As you can tell, we have the ability to communicate here on a platform in a public setting worldwide. If somebody wanted to know what had happened to, if I was back then and I wanted to share about what had happened to me, I would have to find a family member, probably a male family member, to then speak to someone in the law councils and have that law enacted. Today, I would go to the police. I would go to a family member to help me find out who to contact about that, and then see what could be done. Or I might just keep it to myself, and I would not have to worry about never being married, never having food, never having shelter. Something horrible like that could happen, and I could go home and be in a safe environment and not rejected by culture and society itself. So the difference is biblically from Old Testament to today, thousands of years ago to today, are very powerful, which those two things, taking an individual verse out of context in a book and taking Ra's words out of what he has taught and taking them out of context and posting a Ra quote versus posting a Bible quote, both of these can have powerful impacts, but they can also have confusing impacts. I do want to touch on, for my process, as I had said, I found human design through somebody on Facebook, and I dove in. I'm like, I resonate with that. Let me see what I am. And I found I was a manifestor design type. and dove right in, and I started studying with International Human Design School, and was seeking out certification. And I dove so radically into my truth as a person that it actually caused my life to do a drastic 180. There's something that you as a manifester, if you know a manifester, you may be very aware of this. It may interest you, it may horrify you, it may excite you if you are or are not a manifester. There's something very different about individuals that are manifestor design types. We are designed to initiate, and we are designed to initiate from nothing. Now, that does not mean we don't wait. In human design, all other types, their strategy it involves waiting. Generators waiting to respond, projectors waiting for the invitation, reflectors waiting for the lunar cycle. Manifestors are initiators. Now, we can and do, just like generators, projectors, and reflectors, initiate when is incorrect, when is not good for us, when hurts us. We can cause pain for other people. We can cause pain for our own life. And when I walked away from God as a person, I remember where I was, I remember what I was doing, and I remember just being like, Jesus and God, get behind this door, this energetic door. Like, no, I don't understand how you can love me. People tell me that it's not possible for your love to, I don't get it. Strategy and authority works, and how could it be wrong? For if it works and it's truth, then why is it against you? And it wasn't against him, and it wasn't against God, and it was information of how scientifically, mechanically things work for humanity, which is on the flip side, now that I have come back to Jesus and he is now a huge part of my life, and the only way I get through it successfully in my waiting for initiating is it's huge in that I myself manifested poorly. I actually went through an experience with my family where I had my mother telling me that I owed rent. She was serving me for eviction, and at the same time I was trying to come up with rent when she was telling me other times during that, after serving me, that I owed no rent because I didn't, and was asking me, well, why are you trying to pay me rent? I pay that. And it got into a huge struggle where I actually moved my things into storage and became homeless, and went through a very traumatic and difficult 4 to 6 months of my life. And I, in hindsight, as a manifester, had immense pressure. I wasn't living in an environment where I could live alone. I was living alone in a condominium, but I had upstairs and downstairs neighbors and people on the side, and I could feel, I'm so sensitive when you start, if you have had a Kundalini awakening, you know the noise sensitivity, the energetic sensitivity, the inability to go into even a grocery store and not be overwhelmed by the options, by the people, by the noise, by the sound. This is something that I've since overcome. It still happens. But it is when you first have your your downloading capabilities and your empowerment open up in that awakening, really you have overstimulation. And so I was picking up on my upstairs neighbors and my downstairs neighbors. My downstairs neighbor actually went mad. He destroyed the entire condominium. He was a renter in somebody else's condo. He gutted the walls. He wrote like Billie Eilish lyrics on the walls, and plans to make money. And I'm sure I'd gone down there with them at some point. And I had ended up having harassment from a neighbor who moved out, and my upstairs neighbors had some conflict with me that made it very difficult to live in this environment, feeling them, because living and sleeping alone means not having somebody on the other side of the wall from you, not having somebody on the floor. It means you are absolutely 15. 15 is my rule. It's probably more like 12 to 13. But 15 feet is my rule for sleeping spaces apart from each other. I don't care if there's a wall here. I don't care if there's a floor. I don't care if it's cement. I don't care if there's no space and your tents are not 15 feet apart. If you're not in your own space, you actually are in waking life being conditioned. You're taking in the aura, the energy of the other person when they're near you. And so if you live in an apartment complex and you have nightmares, for example, or you have amazing dreams, if you slept somewhere else where you weren't within that aura on a regular basis, they may actually clear up. You may not have the same kind of dreams. I know that is a huge impactful piece. And so for my process with this, and I actually became homeless, and I lived in my car for a time. And so when I speak to waiting and initiating as a manifester, when I was initiating during that time, I was initiating from fear, from terror, from not having information about what was going on. I didn't know why my mom was serving me eviction paperwork, and I was not somebody who prayed at the time. So I actually was taking astral and energy and putting it places that it shouldn't be to seek protection and not trusting. And so what brought me back in the end to Jesus was actually the tail end of this journey, this 6 to 8 month journey, maybe around that time, of learning how to wait as a manifester with my strategy as splenic intuition and as informing. And my strategy is to inform, and my authority as splenic intuition is quiet hunches. What brought me back was actually, I knew intuitively, I knew my spleen, my body was telling me that the universe, God, wanted to give me a place to live. And I had been through 2 assaults. I had been through homelessness. I had been through the loss and rehoming of my baby, my fur baby, my cat. And I had lost my mother. Eventually I stopped hearing from my mother, being able to get in contact with her because of her husband not allowing me to talk to her for whatever reason. And so I had come to this place where I was destitute, and I, as a manifester, this woman who can manifest great things, who can initiate, was stuck. And I yielded, and I informed God. I said, I was laying in the basement of somebody named Jeff's house, and I said, God, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm at this point in my life, I was scared to pray out loud, but I was going to try it, even though it was horrifying for me. I was scared to pray in my head because of some of the things I'd went through, and Jesus had really been trying to heal me, but I had been terrified of Jesus and God and not trusting them. So I was done. I was certain that I was going to spend a week or 2 loving on myself, caring for myself, and then I was going to drive off into the Rocky Mountains and end my life. And that was the most humane course of action I could think of and find, was to provide for myself and then go do that. Because I could not bear living in my car. I had lost everything. I had no hope. It was very difficult. And this waiting that I had to be doing, I had continually pushed to initiate, and again, initiating out of fear. So I'm scared of what's happening here. I don't want to be here. It's uncomfortable. I'm going to leave. I'm going to initiate. I'm going to inform. And I'm informing and initiating not from my splenic knowing mostly, but from fear and unknown and PTSD and this trauma response. And so here I am in Jeff's basement praying, and I said, God, this is my plan of action. You promised me this, and I don't even know if you're real anymore. I walked away from you. I mean, I knew he was real, but I didn't know he, she, it, universe, God, the thing that is omnipotent and omnipresent, the one true God. And I did not, I just told him, this is my heart. I can't do it anymore. The next day I woke up, and I had been viewing houses for about a month, and there were no new ones to view. And so I woke up and I had an appointment and with a doctor, a chiropractor I love, that was really uplifting for me. And I had one last viewing booked that day. And I still was certain about my choice. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go do these things and love on myself and just continue with this plan. And I actually landed the home in Denver, Colorado that was its own house that day. The property manager took it off the market, and I had surrendered. At this point, I was surrendered to the flow of life. Okay, I give up. This is my plan of action. I'll give it a week, and then I'm out. And so as a manifester, as a generator, as a projector, as a reflector, as a person listening to this who doesn't understand the mechanics of human design, when you try and push something that isn't yet ready to happen, that God may have bigger plans or bigger ideas or bigger avenues, or maybe he needs to remove something for somebody else, or the right place isn't available that meets your needs housing wise. Maybe the partner you have isn't meeting your needs and your wants, and you want it to work but it's not, and God has another person in store for you, or that they have this want, he wants to support you, and or you feel lonely. Maybe you're a person, whether you're a projector, a generator, a reflector, a manifester, who is just doesn't have the community you want to have. Whether you do human design and you're an experiment and you know what your strategy and authority is, or you're somebody who does not, maybe you're a Christian, or you're just here checking out to hear the differences between human design and Christianity, there is a knowing that we have in our body. There's a body intelligence that we are born with. And for me, Christianity, Jesus is able to remove the unknown. He's able to lift up and show you what you can't see if you're receptive and surrender and yield. Letting go absolutely opens that up. And I had people often telling me things had to be a certain way. Well, you could just get an apartment, living with walls, which is against other people and in their energy. And I already knew that wouldn't work for me. And the blessing that comes from Jesus and what he has done is phenomenal. Yielding and surrendering to his will changes your life and opens doors. So I want to invite you to pray. I want to invite you to ask God and to soften your heart. I want to read a Bible verse for you that is from James, and then I want to close with prayer. So this story, I hope this shows you how real everyone's process with human design is. Mine in particular has been very unique. I do intend to do more informational videos like this and share stories from my own life. I will say that I do now have a larger house with less rent. I am in a transitionary process where I'm just trusting and yielding to God. If you are empowered by what you hear here and you want to book with me, again, you can check out my website, holistichd.com. You can check out Holistic Human Design and book with me there on Facebook. I have a group known as Human Design Parents on Facebook to empower you, the parent and the kids. I am a Jesus freak. I have so much more to say about what Jesus can do in your life and how human design and Jesus and God actually can mesh, and how they can support one another, despite the fact the founder who taught and teaches and put human design into the world definitely doesn't believe in Jesus, and how Jesus absolutely can come inside you and show you where you're acting out of your not self, your shadow self, your sinful self, or the desires of this world through your emotional center, your root center, your sacral center, your body, your brain, your mind, your heart, your desires, your love, your goals, your aspirations, how Jesus is going to guide you through that. So I hope to do more videos like this and really talk to you vulnerably from my experience in my life. So this is from the book of James, and it is chapter 3. And I read this because I am here to express and share with you and teach. And as such, this is a rebuke for teachers and a rebuttal for those who are here to teach. What I have shared in my previous YouTubes, there's a lot of valuable information in them. There's relationship by human design type, abuse versus love, that goes into projectors, generators, manifestors, reflectors, and abuse versus love in relation to type. At the time of recording, I was not Christian. I was not a Jesus follower, as I had been for a good part of my life. But I had walked away. The information is still very relevant. But this is me basically asking God to come into my YouTube channel and to help me guide and teach from his word and his wisdom, and a rebuke and a rebuttal for myself and for those of us. If you are a teacher of human design, if you are somebody who speaks on the behalf, if you're a preacher, or if you lead a Bible study, or if you just speak to your kids on any sort of authority, being careful that we hold our tongue and that we speak truth at all times, because we can be held accountable for our words. James 3. This is from the Jerusalem Bible. This is my family Bible. Only a few of you, my brothers, should be teachers, bearing in mind that those of us who teach can expect stricter judgment. After all, every one of us who does something wrong over and over again, the wrong, he would be able to control every part of ourself. The only man who could reach perfection would be someone who never said anything wrong. Correction. He would be able to control every part of himself. Once we put a bit into the horse's mouth to make it do what we want, we have the whole animal under our control. Or think of ships, no matter how big they are, even if a gale is driving them. The man at the helm who can steer them anywhere he likes by controlling a tiny rudder. So is the tongue, only a tiny part of the body, but it can proudly claim that it does great things. Think how small a flame can set fire to a huge forest. The tongue is a flame like that. Among all the parts of the body, the tongue is a whole wicked world in itself. It infects the whole body. Catching fire itself from hell, it sets fire to the whole wheel of creation. Wild animals and birds, reptiles and fish can be tamed by man, and often are, but nobody can tame the tongue. It is a pest that will not keep still, full of deadly poison. We use it to bless the Lord Father, but we also use it to curse man, who are made in God's image. The blessings and the curse come out of the same mouth. My brothers, this must be wrong. Does any water supply give a flow of fresh water and salt water out of the same pipe? Can a fig tree give you olives, my brothers, or a vine give figs? No more can seawater give you fresh water. I want to pray for you. I want to pray for you and for your journey and your exploration of human design. And I want to speak truth into your world about what you're going through right now. So I want to invite you into this time of prayer. If this video has reached you in any way, I want to ask that you do like my video, you do subscribe to my channel. This is a huge, huge inspirational help for me. It impacts me in a positive way, and it also allows you access to my manifesting capacities, depending on the connections and who and what you are. It will actually give you access to manifesting. So dear gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this time and space today that we could come together and share on this, my YouTube channel, Christina Talks Radio. I pray that in any way that any of us have spoken ill to those that we love, that we have misspoken, that we have misguided, that we have misled, that you would bind and heal with your loving salve of gentle truth those words that were spoken into the hearts of those we love and care about. I pray that for those in exploration with human design, that you would soften their hearts and their minds and their bodies and open them up to the new possibilities in the way that you, Father and Brother, can come into their life and alleviate their suffering, their chaos, the way our minds spin and cause us to doubt and cause us to fear, to trip us up, that you would empower those that pray to you, that ask you for guidance, God, that you would empower them to know your healing salve, that your love would pour into them. For those people who judge themselves so harshly or just are spiraling in life and do not know where they're going and are looking for the truth and for answers that have found human design, God, I pray that they find you as well. I pray they find the truth in what is their knowing, their inner knowing, whatever their inner authority is and their strategy and human design type. I pray that you go before them, you go behind them, and you stay with them in the present moment and let them know that you love them the way you created them, the way you divinely inspired and knit them in the womb, and that what has happened to them in their life can absolutely be used for love, even if it's painful. I pray that you comfort those that are unsure of what's going on in the world right now, the chaotic energies, and those that are struggling with knowing that they can trust you, Lord, that you even exist, Lord. I pray that you every day send them signs and synchronicities so that they can see clearly your will for their life, and that you bring them comfort and truth and knowing, however it is they are designed to hear from you, God. I speak peace, truth, love, and light into the hearts of any of those who partake of this video and who come across my presence and my YouTube channel. I give thanks for your part in my life, and I want those here to know that He, Father, Mother, God that is unimaginable, unexplainable, I want you to know that He loves you, and He is yelling and screaming, even if it only sounds like the faintest whisper. And even if you can't hear Him right now, if you can't hear Him over your fear, your worry, your confusion, or maybe you're at peace and you're confused as to why well, if God was real, then wouldn't He just tell me? Wouldn't He just send me a sign? I pray that we each have this week and this month and this time, are blessed by you, that you create abundance for those of us that have partaken in your word and your love. And I pray that those who have been in the human design experiment and are learning and growing with that they be blessed by what it is that you can give them, that only you can give them, the water of life that you can give them. And that if those that have wronged them, by telling them false information, false teaching, accusations of being in their not self, or in what was not, when they've spoken their truth and somebody has trampled them, or for those like projectors who require an invitation, God, and they are desperate for an invitation, and they know they have these magical gifts to offer the world. God, I pray you send them the right invitations, and that you come into their hearts and help them know where their no's and their boundaries need to be, not just projectors, but for each of us, God. I pray these things in your Son's holy name, in Jesus' name, amen. So it is, and may it manifest with peace, love, and joy for you. Thanks for hearing some of my story. I look forward to speaking more on Jesus and God and Christianity as my process evolves. I'm very malleable myself. I can give human design sessions, and I work with families and individuals. If you want to book with me, check me out, Holistic Human Design, on Facebook and holistichd.com. I share in blogs and educational articles on my website, and I'm here for you. I very much so want to be able to teach you and guide you, not only on things like the epoch shift of February 15, 2027, but on family and penta and wall dynamics, on the Global Orchestration Directory, the acronym GOD, that is not God, but the acronym of God, and all of these beautiful aspects, what you should eat, what diet applies to you, whether you're a quad left variable or a quad right variable or somewhere in between, and what variable is. I'm here for you, and I want to be a part of your process. Please do interact with me in comments below at any point if you have questions or concerns and are just curious about yourself and your own process and how God might fit into it. Much love. Thanks for watching.